Hello, brothers and sisters. Welcome back to Trumpet's Call. I'm Maria. I'm so happy you're here. Thank you for joining me once again on the channel. And I pray that you're doing well today. I pray that you're holding on to faith and holding on to hope during these times. Today's video is a re-upload. I uploaded this video a year ago and then took it down, and now I'm going to re-upload it. And so I wanted to just give a little backstory. This is a testimony that I shared about my life and about the awakening that I experienced. I had a comment in the comment section asking about my awakening, and I thought I would share it, and then I remembered that I had already done a video about that. So I'm going to upload this video, and I pray that it blesses you, and I pray that you'll learn a little bit more about me and my struggle and my story. So I pray that you're blessed today, brothers and sisters, and we'll see you in the next video. Shalom. I was born in the southeast region of the United States in one of the Sea Island areas. And what that means is that we lived on an island, and we were very isolated from other people. We grew up in a strong, tight community. I didn't see whites all that often, mainly blacks around where we lived. And I had an idyllic childhood, though I didn't know it. I grew up very poor. We were very poor. And oftentimes we wouldn't have the things that we needed for daily living. Our meals ran out sometimes before the month ended. But my mom, she did the best she could, raising 9 children on her own. And she's the best mom in the whole world. And I give all praises to the Most High for giving her to us. She's a strong woman of the Most High, and I honor her. But we grew up in an idyllic way, and this is what I mean by that. We did not have a lot. I grew up in a trailer, a mobile home. I didn't have real foundations or real roots until I was older, teenager, to actually have a house that had a foundation and didn't have wheels on it. But we were grateful for what we had. And there'd be times growing up we'd run out. We'd come to the end of the month, and my mom would go off on one of her forays. It's hard for me to say. Foray. She would have to catch a ride because we didn't have a car, and she'd come back with food, and we were always so excited to see all of the grocery bags full of food, all the goodies that she would make for us throughout the month. And she knew and still knows how to tear up and tear down and throw down in the kitchen. But she would make these wonderful meals based on the same few ingredients, and she would find different ways to make it really interesting for us. And I'm so grateful to her for that. But being on the Sea Islands, growing up, we all knew each other. Everyone knew each other. Everybody on the road knew each other. Everybody in the community knew each other, and we knew everybody's business. And sometimes people would kind of poke their nose into people's business, but we all knew. Everybody knew what was going on. And if someone showed up who didn't belong there, they got questioned. What are you doing here? Who are you? Who are your people? We got that a lot. Who are your people? Who are your people? So if we didn't know your people, then we didn't readily want to accept you. But where we grew up, it wasn't uncommon for someone to go out fishing, because we were, on an island, go out fishing and catch, fish and crab, when we ate those things back then, and conch and all of that stuff, and, be walking down the street with part of their haul and say, hey, what you been doing? Oh, I was just fishing. Hey, what'd you catch? I caught some whiting. Hey, bring me a few whiting. Okay, and they would just do it. They would just bring it. And then growing up, we had a fig tree in our yard, and our neighbors had a peach tree. It wasn't uncommon for us to eat the peaches off of their peach tree, and for them to come and get figs off of our fig tree, and for us all to go down to the neighbor's pear tree and get pear from them, or for them to bring us some pear preserves that they put up. We just shared things. My neighbors down the street, they grew collard greens, and they had extra, so they would send us some. My mom would then send something back. It was idyllic. It was like Acts chapter 2, and I knew it not. I didn't know how blessed it was to be in an area where you actually know your neighbors, they know you, and you're accepted. I didn't all feel like I did not belong to a community, even though I couldn't fully appreciate it until a lot later in life. We were part of a community, and it was beautiful. We kind of shared all things in common, and it was beautiful. The school I went to, it was a K through 12 until we moved. We did move, but the school I went to, K through 12, we had one white student. Oh boy, how she must have stood out or felt a certain kind of way about being in a school, K through 12, full of black people. But at no point did I see myself as untoward or other or like I didn't fit in. It was great. And I didn't know it though. It's like you can live a life and have it be a good life, but not know it until it's different. And then you go, I really had it good back then. I didn't know it. But it must have been different for her being the only white student in a school full of blacks. But we moved from that location, still within the Sea Islands, but we moved. And the area that we moved to had, I'd say, probably 60% whites and about 40% blacks in the school where I went. And that was different for me. I hadn't really had any one-on-one personal interaction with white people until I was probably like in the 8th grade, I'd say, really, honestly. And I saw immediately, so one thing my little mind noticed back then was that white people seem to have the money, they seem to have the influence, they seem to have the power. It seems to be like they run the show and they're more important than we are. This is what my little mind told me. And if I want to be accepted, then I have to do the things that they are doing or see the world in the way that they see it in order to try to accomplish some of the things that they've accomplished, not knowing, what I know now. But I tried to fit in. I went to my mostly white school and I tried to fit in. And that was interesting. I found myself not really fitting in so much. And I didn't really know how to make friends all that well because I never really had to try to make friends because I was used to living in community. Everybody knew each other. And so I tried to fit in with the whites. And I had some white friends, I think. I always felt like the token black in the situation, though. And I tried to make friends with the blacks in the area. But that didn't always go over well as either because in this area, some of the black people around there were kind of like what we would call sedity. Like they were like middle class and they didn't associate with the blacks who might have been poor like I was. I didn't have the Izod shirts and the Levi jeans. We couldn't afford that stuff. We were poor. If we could get clothes from the Goodwill or have it hand-me-downs, we were grateful to have them. I remember at one point cutting off the Izod off of a pair of pants I found, or shirt I found, and trying to iron it on to something just so I could fit in, so I could have, the cool shirts and the cool clothes, but I didn't. And so I didn't fit in with the blacks in the area for that reason, because we were poor. I didn't really fit in with the whites, didn't really fit in with the blacks. So I found myself beginning to have a complex, beginning to not feel very good about myself, beginning to, I dare say, hate myself. Okay, I don't fit in with the blacks, I don't fit in with the whites. Where do I fit? I fit nowhere, okay? So I said, well, I'll try harder. And I did. I tried harder to fit into either groups. And I had, like I said, I had some white friends, and I'm grateful for those relationships, for what they were, I didn't really have a whole lot of black friends because I found them very resistant to allow people into their group. It was very painful time, my childhood and my teenage years. I guess we'd call these my teenage years. And so I grew up hating myself. That was the point at which I really began to hate my black skin, hate the blackness, the not fitting in, the not being able to find where I fit. It was a painful time for me, so I stuffed it like many of us do. We just stuff our pain. We feel it. It's very real to us, but we stuff it. We overeat. We overdrink. We engage in sexual activity or drugs or alcohol or whatever it is. But we find a way to stuff our pain, and that's what I did. I stuffed it. I stuffed mine in food. And I couldn't reconcile the world and how unfair it seemed, and how one group of people seemed to have everything and another group, my people, didn't seem to have much at all. And the ones who did have it, they were just so stuck on themselves. So fast forward from my teenage years to college. I got a bachelor's degree in psychology, and then got a master's degree in public health, thinking, okay, I've got a master's degree now. People are going to look at me different. Still getting called the N-word. Yeah, that's happened to me. Still getting a side eye, and you go into a store, people looking at you like you can't afford to be there, like you're going to steal something just because you're black. Or walking into a restaurant and people looking at you like you don't belong here. We are well aware of those looks. So you just turn around sometimes and just walk right out, because you don't want to cause trouble or be the trouble. So this is my life. And after all of this pain, I find myself in a relationship, and I believe ordained, because I prayed and prayed for the Most High to send me a spouse, and I believe He did. He happens to be a white man. Imagine that. And perhaps in the relationship, it was me trying to also find myself, trying to fit in somewhere. Like, if I'm not fitting in with my black brothers and sisters, maybe I can fit in here. And my husband of almost 30 years has been a good husband to me, and I'm so grateful for him. So grateful. But what I found was that didn't do it either, because being in an interracial relationship, I found my black brothers and sisters more accepting of it, because, we tend to just try to go along to get along. But then I had the side eye from the white people saying, what are you doing married to one of our own? So it's like, you just can't win. You cannot win in this world. You just can't win. So my hatred for myself increased. And it got to the point where I couldn't even walk past a mirror and look at myself in the mirror, because I did not want to see what was on the other side of that mirror. I didn't want to see it because I hated it. And how could I, a person who I find myself to be a very loving person, someone who loves people, who would give the shirt off of their backs, because that's how we grew up. That's what we did. That's how we Sea Islanders lived. We shared, just willing to help people, strangers even. How could I, who have so much love to give for others, have so much hatred for myself? So I developed this policy of trying only to look at myself in the mirror if I absolutely had to. Fast forward to 2017. I'm in my 40s. And I'm once again in the bathroom trying to avoid the mirror. And I stop. And I just looked at myself in the mirror. And I remembered something that when I was in the Christian church, we had long since stepped away from the Christian church at this point, finding it wholly unsatisfying. And it just felt like I was never going to find what I was looking for. I kept searching. It just was not what was going to bring my soul into the kingdom for me. This was my experience. And so I remember one of my friends and sisters in the Christian church, she told me, she said, I feel like God's telling me that you're mad at Him for making you black. And I thought about what she said, because it hadn't occurred to me that I was mad at God for any reason. And I thought about it, and I thought, well, maybe I am. Maybe I am mad at Him for making me black and putting me in a world where black is bad. Everybody hates black. Nobody wants to be black, because black people get mistreated and they get shot down in the streets. And maybe I am mad at Him for that. Maybe I'm feeling a certain kind of way about that. And I didn't even realize it, because what we do is we stuff. We stuff our pains. We don't process it. We stuff. And so I thought about that, but not knowing what to do about it, I stuffed. And this was a few years before this, 2017, in my bathroom. So that came to my mind. And I thought about that. I said, yeah, why did you make me black? Look at this skin. People hate it. People hate it. And they hate me. Why? Who? And then I thought, the question came to me, and it must have been the Most High who made me ask this question, because I can't see myself thinking to ask this question. I said out loud, God, who are you? And who am I to you? Who are you to me? Really, Not what we were told, not what we were taught, but really, who are you? And who am I to you? Just a heartfelt question that I just kind of blurted out and then went my way, stuffing my pain as I went. 3 days later, my sister sent me a video by Pastor Omar. And I looked at the video, I clicked on the video, it was 3 hours. I thought, my sister must be crazy. She sent me a 3-hour video. I'm supposed to watch a 3-hour video. But I started it, and once I started it, I couldn't stop. Because in lawyer-like fashion, of course he is an attorney and a pastor, in lawyer-like fashion, he laid out the grounds, going all the way back to the beginning, of how we, Black people, the descendants of slaves, are the true people of the book, of the Bible. We are the Israelites. We are the Hebrews. And my brother actually had come to this realization about 10 or 15 years before and shared it with our family. And we thought he was nuts. We just couldn't see it. We could not see it. We castigated him and we told him he needed to get some therapy because we could not see the truth. But here it is being presented once again. And it was undeniable. I guess at this time, the Most High had graced me to open my eyes so that I could see. And I saw, that's why. That's why. It's not because my black skin is inherently bad. Actually, it's quite beautiful and it's quite blessed. Melanin. It's a wonderful thing. You should research it. It really is. It's true. It's truly remarkable. And I started to see myself in a different light. I go, wait a minute. We're cursed because we're blessed. We're cursed because we're chosen. We were chosen to be the Most High's special possession, His people, and we just would not get it right. And so here we find ourselves in a land of captivity once again because we did not get it right. And what we're experiencing is the curse of the Most High. And what the white people and others around us are experiencing is the blessing of the Most High that used to rest on us before we sinned. And it all fell into place for me. It all made sense. And I went from hating this black skin to loving it and being so appreciative of it and being so grateful that the Most High made me black. Boy, what a difference a day makes. This is an insertion into my testimony because our testimonies are ongoing. And so since coming to a period of awakening to my true Hebrew identity and finding out who I was, I ran the gamut in emotion. I found myself saying, okay, well, now I know who I am. And now that makes sense as to why I've been experiencing what I've been experiencing. But it didn't change my behavior right away. Not at first. I still continued to go on and do the things that I was doing before until I began to read the scriptures and realize that the Most High was calling for me to change. He was calling for me to get out of that Christian mindset, that mindset of just putting in just enough. And He was looking for me to pursue Him hard. And He was looking for us all to turn from our wicked ways that had led to us being taken captive. He was looking for something from us. And when I realized that, I took to pursuing Him and asking Him what He wanted me to do. So I said, Father, what do you want from me? What do you want for me to do? What do you want? And so I didn't really get an answer. Every time I would pray, I wouldn't get an answer until eventually I got an answer. But it wasn't the answer that I wanted. When I prayed and asked the Father what He wanted from me, He said, study the scriptures. And I went, okay, I can do that, but what else do you want me to do? I mean, okay, what else? And so from that point on, every time I would ask Him, Father, I want to be doing something great for the kingdom. What can I do? He'd say, study the scriptures. So I'd say, okay. And then I would. I took to studying the scriptures. I took to writing scriptures down in my journal. I took to just looking words up in the original Greek and the original Hebrew and researching and looking and researching and reading and studying. And then I went a year of doing that. And then I asked the Father, what do you want me to do? And of course, the answer is the same. Continue to study the scripture. I can't say that I received a word from the Most High. Thus saith the Most High. Start a YouTube channel. that didn't happen. It didn't happen that way. I really am not quite sure how I found myself on YouTube. It's quite remarkable and quite unbelievable. I remember one day sitting in my front yard and I was recording some scriptures that I had written in my journal. And I was outside, it was springtime, and I could hear the birds chirping, and it was just so beautiful. So I started recording myself reading the scriptures and showing my front yard. And then I said, what do I do with this? At this point, I wasn't on social media. So I said, what do I do with this? I want to share this. It's so beautiful. And I go, maybe I could upload it to my YouTube channel. And I go, you don't have a YouTube channel. I have a YouTube account. So I said, well, let me see if I can figure out how to do that. And that was my first upload. I uploaded me reading Bible verses in my front yard. And then I thought, hey, maybe I could do that again. Maybe I could read some more of my verses that I've written in my journal because they're really great. And I started doing that, just reading it, not everything I uploaded. I just started sharing. And then the Most High started giving me words of wisdom or words of prophecy for the nation and saying, I want you to share that. And I was like, oh boy, what's happening here? And before I know it, I have a full-fledged YouTube channel. And it was slow going for a while there. It was slow going. And I thought, why am I even here? The Most High didn't exactly call me to this. So I shut down the YouTube channel. This was about 6 months ago or so. I shut it down. I said, I don't have a whole lot of followers. I don't have a whole lot of subscribers. And I'm posting all these videos and I'm laboring in the scriptures and nobody's watching these videos. Why am I even doing this? So I prayed about it and the Most High gave me permission to shut it down. So I shut it down. And then I sat and I twiddled my thumbs. I was still studying the scriptures. And I had all of the stuff that the Most High was giving to me and I had nothing to do with it. I could write it down in my journal. I was filling up journals. But I'm like, what do I do with all the stuff that you're giving to me? I feel like I'm full, like I'm pregnant and I can't give birth. And the Most High was like, well, you wanted to end the channel because you wanted it to grow at your rate. You wanted to grow at your pace and not at mine. And I said, Father, if you will allow me to start the channel up again, I won't complain and I will allow you to grow the channel at your rate and at your pace. And I won't complain. And I will look at every video that I do as if I'm doing the video for just myself. And as long as I'm blessed, or maybe one or two other people are blessed by the video, I'm not going to complain. And I held pretty true to that. There were some days when I would just, release a video that was just so wonderful. And the Most High showed me something in the scriptures. It was just so awesome. And then I'd go back and look at the video and maybe 3 people had watched it. And I went, but this is a good word. I'm thinking, this is a good word. Why aren't people watching? The Most High will put you in a period of testing. He will see how you handle the little before he entrusts you with the much. Okay? And so he was allowing me to grow my way into a sense of maturity and to be able to handle people coming to the channel and knowing how to respond to them and love and with brotherhood and fellowship. It took time to grow into that. I didn't know that then. I know it now. And so as the channel continues to grow, he will allow it to grow at the pace that I can handle, that's commensurate with the level of responsibility that he sees in me and the level of maturity that he's working in me. Okay? Now, as I was listening to my testimony, I heard myself saying things about the Gentiles and about my experience with the Gentiles, and I wanted to address that just briefly. As I have come to an awareness of my identity and how we have lived our lives in light of the Gentiles and in light of their feelings about us, and how I hated myself because I didn't fit in and measure in with their view of the world, I realized that to some degree, we're trapped in that as Hebrew people. We're trapped. And this is what I mean by that. There's something within us, brothers and sisters, that always wants to make sure that they're comfortable. And if we sense that they're uncomfortable, we are uncomfortable. This is the Stockholm Syndrome. This goes all the way back to slavery, where if the master or the missus was ever upset, you knew that there was a threat of your child being sold away, of your loved one being whipped, or of someone being killed. So you always wanted to make sure that the master and the missus wasn't upset with you. And we still hold that trauma in ourselves. And I see myself responding in such ways. I see myself, and I see myself having a guard against it. I see myself, and even in earlier videos, always wanting to make sure that I said, but the Most High has made allowances for the Gentiles too. And he has. He has made allowances for the Gentiles. But I'm going to say this, and I mean no disrespect to anybody. This is not about them. It's not about the Gentiles. It's our book. It's our Elohim. It's our story. It's our family. It's our redemption. It's our Messiah. It's our promises. It's our covenants. It's all about us. It's all about us. And it has always been all about us. And I don't mean that in a braggadocious way. I mean that in a way that is truthful and honest. When the Most High allowed the mixed multitude into the nation of Yasharal, they knew their place. They knew that it was for them to come in and serve the people to whom the kingdom belonged. They knew that. They didn't come in and try to take control. They didn't come in and try to make the story about them. They came in and they knew their place, and they served, and they tried, at least in some ways, they didn't always, to make the nation better by having them serve in the capacity that Most High had equipped them to serve. And now that we've come to an awakening and an identity explosion within our nation, we have the Gentiles not knowing where they fit, not understanding. The Most High is not going to kick them to the curb. He's not going to deny them salvation. If they, 3 criteria, obey him, have faith in Messiah, and are good to his people. He has stated that multiple times in the videos that I've been doing. There's a requirement that they have, okay? So don't come to the channel and tell us about how sorry you are and about how you feel bad, about how you want this, you want that. We need time to congregate as a group of Hebrews to discuss how we feel about things. We need time. So what we need from the Gentiles right now is we need support, obviously, but we need space. Give us some space. Give us some elbow room and some breathing room so that we can figure out how we feel about things. We're not looking to kick you to the curb either. We're not looking to exclude you. But what we want is, we want some time to know how we feel about things before we have to then consider your feelings. Because in the past, that's all we did. All we did was consider how the Gentiles felt about things. And what we want to know is, how do I feel about this? What is the Most High saying to me about this? What's he saying to the chosen people about this or that? Okay? So, with all the love in my heart that I can muster, remember, my husband is a Gentile, and he understands that I feel this way. Let us have some breathing room. Now, whether you give it to us or not, we're going to take it because we deserve the ability to come together before our Father and discuss the things that have meaning to us. We don't mind you being a part of that. We don't mind you being a part of the prayer groups. We don't mind you crying out to the Father on our behalf. We don't mind any of that. But just understand the place that the Most High has given to you. The place of Ruth. Ruth followed behind Naomi. Naomi's representative of Israel. Ruth is representative of a good neighbor. She followed behind. She knew her place. And it worked out perfectly. She ended up being redeemed and ended up being a part of the nation of Yasharal, which is wonderful, which is what we all want. But you have to understand the order that the Most High has established. There's an order and a hierarchy, and everyone has to serve in their own capacity and stay in their own lane. Okay? So that's one of the biggest things that I've had to find it, that I've had trouble navigating, is learning how to speak to my brothers and sisters as the Most High, I believe, has given me this channel to help draw us back into right relationship with him and to lead us into set-apart living before the gathering happens, and still be respectful and mindful of the Gentiles who may be listening in. I don't want to have to mince my words or not speak honestly or have to give credence to the fact that the Most High is allowing the Gentiles in. We know that. We don't disagree with that. We need time. We need space. And as the Most High heals our hearts, I know that forgivenesses will be made all around. But judgment's coming. The Most High will judge the Gentile nations. And so if you're a Gentile and you've been listening to my channel, I am so happy. I'm glad that you're here. I am. But just understand, the ministry is to the Hebrew people who have long since had their identity stolen from them. This ministry is to people who are awakening to truth and who need to know what the Most High is saying to us as a people. You're welcome to listen in. You're welcome to be a part of the channel. I love it. You're welcome to comment, but just understand that what we need from you is time, and we need elbow room. We need you to understand what your place is in this new kingdom that's rising up now, where your role is the role of serving the priests and the kings, and our role is serving humanity and serving Messiah and serving the Father. So this is something that's been on my mind for a while now, and I thought this was a good opportunity to share it. I love all people. I want us all to get along. I do. But we are hurt and broken people still, and we need some time. So coming to an awakening of my identity has meant everything to me. I no longer hate myself, but I'm still acting in prescribed patterns. It's as if we have had post-traumatic stress. I believe that Dr. Joy Bauer wrote a book on post-traumatic slave syndrome, where we act in prescribed patterns based on stress and trauma that's in our tissues. It's in our DNA, and we need to be healed. And we will be healed. We will be. The Most High will set all things right. He will apply the balm of Gilead to our nation, and we will be healed. We will be. But I am thrilled that I have an opportunity to have this channel and to communicate almost on a daily basis with my brothers and my sisters. I'm getting to know you by your comments and by your responses. I'm discerning your ruachs, and I am so grateful that finally this group of Hebrew brothers and sisters, I fit. And it's wonderful to fit somewhere. So thank you for sticking with me this long. And I pray that my testimony has been a blessing to you. I pray the Most High bless and keep you, brothers and sisters. I pray that He would make His face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. I pray that He would lift up His countenance upon you and grant you peace. Thank you, Father, for the awakening. Thank you for our testimonies. Thank you for all that you're doing in our lives and our hearts and our nation. We are looking forward to going home, Father. We want to go home. Thank you. And quick note, please feel free to share your awakening experience in the comment section. I would love to hear it. Shalom and shalom, brothers and sisters.